Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me for this acrylic painting tutorial. In this video, we're going to be painting a little magical forest with some fireflies and dragonflies and sparkly skies. There we go. We rhymed. Did not mean to do that, but couldn't help it. Sorry.
Nice.
I'm
proud of you.
One of those nights. Yeah. Got my husband Mark with me.
Hey there, everybody.
He's man in chat for a live stream, so if you've got questions while I'm painting, you can ask those, and let's get started. All right. Yeah, so I'm starting with the 12 by 12 inch canvas. Welcome. Hey, glad you're here. If you're new to our channel, I do these live streams and teach you the whole painting process from start to finish, so that you can paint along if you want to. And yeah.
If you don't want to, you can just watch it.
That's right. We
No
have
pressure.
a lot of our followers that come and just hang out with us, which is nice. So, hey guys, glad you're here tonight. All right, and watching later too. All right, so as far as brushes go, we're going to be doing some dry brushing and some stippling. So those will be kind of our two main techniques tonight. Actually, some, I guess instead of dry brushing, you could call it scumbling, where we're going to add sort of foggy techniques in the background there, and some foliage and things. So for that, you're going to want some sort of a scruffy brush. Both of those techniques require kind of a brush that's got a stiffer bristle. So I've got a couple Deerfoot stipplers in different sizes here from the Princeton Select, and then I've got just a regular hog bristle brush in a smaller size here. So I'll use both of those for a lot of the foliage and the fireflies and things like that. And then just to kind of block in some of our colors, you'll need a large flat brush. I've got a 12 bright. And then for the dragonflies and the tree trunks and things, just a filbert or flat in a kind of a mid-size, and then a couple of round brushes. So I probably won't use all of these, but I got them just in case. I've also got an angle brush and a fan brush. So I don't know exactly which ones I'm going to use tonight. I haven't painted this ahead of time, so we'll figure it out as we go, and you'll get to see the whole thing. So, all right, let's go over our colors. I'm going to spray these real quick with water. I've just got a glass palette here, so any kind of palette's fine, as long as it's not porous. Carbon black, burnt umber, burnt sienna, yellow, cadmium yellow light, India yellow hue, phthalo green, turquoise. No, sorry, phthalo turquoise, not phthalo green. Phthalo turquoise, but you could substitute phthalo green if you don't have this one. Ultramarine blue, Quinacridone Magenta, Unbleached Titanium, Titanium white, and Satin glazing liquid. The phthalo, pretty much any phthalo is going to work for this. So if you have a phthalo blue, phthalo green, or phthalo turquoise, any of those will work. Just kind of get it to a turquoise. So if you have the blue or the green, you just add some, if you have the blue, you add yellow to make it more greenish to get it to turquoise. And then if you have the phthalo green, you're going to need to add some blue to get it to more of a turquoise. So either one will work. All right, let's get going here. So I'm going to edit the composition just a little bit. I want it to be a little bit darker in the background. You can see there's kind of some light up here. I don't really think I want any of this light area up at the top. So I think I want it to be a little bit more moody and maybe a little bit more compressed. So I think I'm going to try also to give it some distance. So we'll talk about that. How do you make your trees look like they're farther away? Because all of these are really dark and they're all pretty, kind of close up to us. So I'm going to want to push some of those back. So let's make a kind of focal point area. I want to leave room for a dragonfly to go kind of here and maybe here. Maybe move it a little closer to the center. Here, and then maybe a smaller one in here. Okay, so those will be our like 3 dragonflies. And then we'll want to kind of make maybe our focal point area like right in here where, and what I mean by that is just kind of like that vanishing point where everything is sort of going out into the distance. And so we'll have some something like that, where it kind of opens up and then it'll come out towards us this way, and we'll have maybe a few layers of ground in between, like that. Okay, and so all of this is going to be pretty dark here and here, and then this will open up with a little bit of lighter, maybe some tree trunks and things, and we'll have a few tree trunks in here maybe. All right, doesn't look like much yet, but we'll get it there. We just kind of need to have a focus area of where we're going to have that lightest area go. I've painted the background with a very light coat. I put about that much burnt sienna on there, sprayed it with water, and then spread it around with a paper towel to kind of wipe most of it off. So you can see it's kind of blotchy, but that'll do. It'll just I get questions a lot by, like, people have a lot of opinions about starting with the color in the background. It's really confronting to people, I guess. And they're like, why are you not just starting with white?
Yeah.
You know,
That's a good question.
It's fine. You can start with white if that makes you feel better. You do you. But the color will help you see your values more. And especially with a painting like this where we have a lot of light and dark, our lights are going to look really faded on a white canvas, and our darks are going to look way too dark on a white canvas. So you're not going to be able to tell how close you're getting to what you want unless you start with kind of a mid-level color like this.
I was chatting while you were doing all the prep drawing there, and I didn't notice what you're doing. And then I looked up at your canvas. I'm like, what the heck
Happened to it?
is she drawing?
Oh.
And then I look, okay, I can see now what she's doing. It's just like,
Big X's.
like, no,
and,
not
like,
here.
No,
no,
it doesn't look.
Not here either.
Not that, none
Not
of
here.
that.
Not you.
Jeez.
Sorry.
That's funny. Okay, so I'm going to start with making kind of a turquoise, and I also want to make a dark blue. So I'm going to get the Phthalo blue. Whoa, don't go there. Phthalo blue. I'm sorry, I keep saying that. I'll probably say that. If I say that is Phthalo blue, it's not. It's turquoise. I'll probably say it again when I'm not paying attention. So I just apologize in advance. It's probably going to happen. Phthalo turquoise and ultramarine blue here, 50-50. And this will make a phthalo blue-ish color. You can see it's kind of phthalo bluish. And the reason I decided to do turquoise instead of cobalt teal is because it's a deeper color and I want these to be dark. So I have more room to go really dark with this color versus a cobalt teal that is lighter to begin with. All right, so it's not going to bother me to have this blue on here. I'm going to mix quinacridone. No, I'm sorry. I don't want to do that. I take that back. This one is the one I want to mix the quinacridone into. This one I want to add white to it to make it lighter. So I'm going to get a little bit of white, probably 2 parts phthalo to 1 part white. So we'll just make kind of a mid turquoise color here. And it wouldn't hurt anything if you have cobalt teal to put it out on your palette too. I was kind of trying to limit my palette tonight, just not to overwhelm people with choices. And we'll have a little bit more mixing because of it. But this is a pretty simplified composition, so we'll have time to do a little bit of mixing, I think. All right, so I'm going to just leave what's on my knife here and get some more white. And mix that in here. And when I mix it, once I get it to the consistency that I want, or the color that I want, then I will scoop it all up and put it in a smaller pile so that it doesn't take up too much space. And also so that it doesn't dry out as quickly. Okay? So there's my 2 turquoises. I hate to waste that. I'm going to use that on my brush right now. Just scrape that off. Save that off to the side. And then on this one, I want to add some magenta. And magenta and turquoise, or magenta and this phthalo blue, is going to make a nice deep purple. Again, we could have used quinacridone or dioxazine purple for this if you wanted to, but This is a much kind of richer purple, a little bit more muted than dioxazine. Okay, so there we go. We've got pretty much equal parts phthalo blue, phthalo turquoise, ultramarine blue, and quinacridone magenta in this one. Okay. I think that'll get us started at least, and then we'll mix as we go. Any other colors we need. Okay, so I'm going to start with this lightest turquoise. Just kind of block out just a little bit of this. It's probably not going to, it's going to show through quite a bit because of that color underneath, but just kind of do that. And then I'm going to get the turquoise on its own and a little bit of the burnt umber, and I'll pick up a little bit of this purple that's over here too. Burnt umber, turquoise. So this is a little bit deeper turquoise than just regular turquoise. It's also a little bit more muted, and we'll use that. Come across here. I'll be putting lighter colors in here. I don't want this too dark, so if yours is really dark, you might tone it down just a little bit, because I want it to be darker than this color here, but not as dark as like black, because I want to be able to go darker when we add our darkest tones in here, leafy stuff. So this is just to kind of block in some color back here, and it's okay if there's some lighter areas too, so you can get a little bit of that mid-tone and do it kind of in the middle, in that area where I said was going to kind of widen out. And do that there. And keep this area a little small right here where it's sort of...
We got a question. Somebody would like to know what makes the phthalo colors different from regular blue or green.
Ooh, you know, I don't know. They're just a family of blues and greens that are highly transparent and highly strong mixing. So they have really high tinting strength. So you don't need a lot of them, and they're very inexpensive. So they're just a great color to have, you know, in your artist toolbox. I find that there's really no other blues. Like there's cerulean blue and there's cobalt blue. Cobalt's closer to like an ultramarine. Cerulean would probably be the closest to, or maybe viridian green would be the closest to a turquoisey green or a turquoisey blue that alternative, and they're just not as vibrant. These are just so vibrant, so rich. So they just mix so nicely, and you really have to tone them down. You can't use them straight out of the tube because they're just so strong. But it gives you, for me as an artist, just gives me a lot of working room, you know, to have them in my arsenal. I can make really vibrant greens or really muted greens, or, you know, really dark colors, or lighten them up with white. And they work great with glazes because they're so transparent. So they're just really versatile. All right, so I'm going to get some, sound like a commercial for Phthalo. I'm going to get some black and some burnt umber this time, and I'm going to put that in the bottom corner here, and kind of right along the bottom here. And if your paint's not going on smoothly, I should have sprayed my canvas, so I'm going to spray it now. Hopefully it won't lift too much of what we've already done there. This is not covering very well. I forget that it's a larger canvas and I'm not mixing enough of these colors. There we go. Plus, when you've got a dry canvas, that first layer is just going to soak up. Even though I've already got burnt sienna on there, it's still not going on very well. All right, I don't want to cover up all of that there. Do want a little bit of this dark coming through here. And you can see as I'm putting this on, I'm kind of flipping it up so that if it does cross over, it's gonna pick up. It's actually kind of cool what it did there. I'm gonna do this part up here and see if I can make it do that. Just spray that on there. And then I can either use my brush, I can just use a paper towel and just kind of blot it. See if I can get this one was drying, so it lifted all the way back to the, oh, there, it's doing it there. Kind of cool.
Like a
I don't know if
moody
you can
sky
see
right
that.
now.
Yeah, just another layer of interest. Okay. Very good. All right, so I want it dark enough so that when we put our lighter colors in here, we've got a lot of room to work with. I know this is going to go lighter in here, so I'm not going to worry too much about covering that up. I might go with the lighter teal here. Just put some of that in right there. And I'm swishing it around while the paint's wet and kind of trying to create like grassy-like brush strokes or foliage-like brush strokes just by kind of using the corner and the edge of the brush and sort of swishing it back and forth and upwards on the end strokes so that, you know, if you swish it upwards, it'll kind of look like a grass or something like that. So it's kind of what I'm trying to do here. Let me get a little bit more of that darker color. Okay, I think down here I might go a little bit more warm, like the burnt sienna color. Get a little bit of that burnt sienna that was there. Said I wasn't going to cover all that up, and I just did. See if I can get any of that off there. Okay, that's good enough. So that's a good first start. So we've got it kind of, let's look at our values here. Got it kind of in here. We've still got room to go darker. We're actually probably, it's where it kind of disappears. So it's kind of like in there somewhere. It looks lighter there and it looks darker in these two. So it's probably like right in here. So we've got these two darker to play with. And then we've got all this nice lighter value to really make things shine. And that's one of the best ways of giving yourself plenty of room to make things brighter, look brighter, so you can make sure your background is dark enough. A lot of times I think beginner artists start with their background's too light because the light colors are what you notice first, and so your eye's drawn to those, and they don't realize that there's a lot of dark stuff even in the lighter colors. There's a lot of dark areas, and if you don't put those in, then it looks flat. Okay, so let me think. Do we want to do just foliage, or do we want to do some tree trunks? I kind of want to do, I think, a little bit of both maybe. So I think I'm going to use I was asking myself a question and answered it, so just no reason to have to chime in there, which is...
I'm used to it.
Me asking questions and then answering them before you get the chance.
Well, I think it's because you know that I'm not usually listening anyways, so no sense of waiting for an answer.
Truth. I love it. Oh, gosh. Okay, so let's scumble a little bit of color back here. So I do want a little bit of a glow, so I'm going to put just in this area right here, I want a little bit of a glow, and then we'll put our darker tree trunks behind it. So I'm going to get this turquoisey color, and I'm going to use the this is just a stiff bristled brush. You could use a sponge for this, like you could use a brush or a sponge like this and do it as well. I've done it that way. I'm just going to kind of do it in a little bit of a circle here. And this is Scumbling. You put your color down and then you don't go back to where your color is. You just work the edges. So I want the color, the brightest area, set down where that light source shining through, right at that focal point area that we mentioned, which is just kind of above the halfway mark. You can make it off center too if you want, but look at that, already looks like it's glowing, doesn't it? It already looks like something's happening back there. All right, let's go a little bit brighter. And I'm going to have to let that dry a little bit. I need to make sure that I'm not touching that while it's wet. I'm going to go back over. I'm going to very gently and just use the corner. And I'm not using a lot of paint here. That's the key. And you don't want to scrub in that area where you first lay down the color, because otherwise you're going to end up I'm wanting it to kind of look like it's rising up, so I'm letting that edge of the brush that had a little bit of paint still on it touch every now and then, but I'm actually not touching that part down to the canvas. I'm kind of going above it. So I want it to look like maybe little fireflies are all kind of clustered around here. So these are like little teeny tiny points coming up and out into the forest there. Okay, looks good. I think that's good enough for now. So let's go ahead and put some tree trunks in here. So in order to make these tree trunks look farther away, we're going to want to make the ones that are closest to our light source lighter. And then as we get away from them out here, we're going to go darker. So we'll pick this darker turquoise, which should show up against this just fine. And we'll just kind of figure out where our ground is. Doesn't really matter. I'm just going to kind of go ahead and do like a light line coming across and up. And then we'll put some foliage and things in there. So this is our sort of area right there. So I'll just do a few little trees coming up across in that area. Keeping them pretty small. Okay, and then as we go out, I'm going to get a little bit more turquoise and go a little bit darker. And start to angle them down closer to us. So remember, we've got that. If you want to put your chalk marks in again, you can, but we want to have just basically something like that. So we can have those tree trunks kind of extending down to that line coming towards us. All right, I'm going to get this dark blue. Put a few in here and just cross over. And most of this is going to be covered up by other stuff, so I'm not worried too much about these tree trunks at this point, but I'll just go ahead and get these in here, and then we'll, as we get farther down, I want to get closer to like a true black. So I'm adding more burnt umber to it, and maybe on this side of it we'll add a glow. On the side that's facing the glowing fireflies, maybe add a little glow to our trees. And I'm doing this pretty sloppy. I'm not worried too much about how it looks at this point, because we're just going to kind of just laying the groundwork. here for later on. We'll be adding darker areas and things as we go. Okay, nice. All right, so I think I don't want to go any farther because I got a lot of foliage and things back here that I want to do, and I don't want to have to cover up what I've already done, paint it back in. Okay, so what I'm going to do is switch to a foliage brush. I think I'll start with the light or darker one here, and I'm going to go with the dark turquoise. I'm going to get some of that blue, maybe a little bit of that turquoise, just kind of make a darkish turquoise close to the color that I had there. I'm just going to hit up some of these, close in those shapes there, like that. Okay, keep it light, keep it close to what's already on the tree trunk color, and then as I go out I'm going to change that color to whatever tree trunks are there. So get a little bit more of that turquoisey color, maybe a little bit of the burnt umber, and do another layer for this tree that's maybe a little bit darker. Bring it out and down. And then I also want to bring it across on underneath my tree and across the pathway there a little bit. And get some of that lighter color and just put it on these trees here. Getting there. I think I'm going to switch to the bigger brush now, and we'll just do some really, really dark. I'm going to get black. I'm going to get some of this dark purpley color, maybe a little bit more magenta. And I'm just going to do really dark on here. Maybe some down here. What? I'll probably put more of that tree trunk back in later, but what are you laughing at?
Sorry, I'm trying to find some interesting dragonfly facts.
Mm-hmm.
And this is under the negative connotations.
Okay.
That, where'd it go? In Scandinavia, a dragonfly flying near someone was thought to be weighing their soul for the devil.
Whoa. Interesting. Weighing their soul for the devil?
Yeah. I'm just like, I just don't even know where to begin with that.
I know. It's
like, how did that even be a thing? Like, somebody didn't like somebody for sure.
exactly. You know what I saw.
And then in some folklore, dragonflies are believed to follow snakes, either to mend their wounds or to guide them.
Interesting.
These things I've never heard of before.
I'm going to leave a little bit of this lighter color popping through there too. So giving it even more depth. So it's already looking very deep there, very like moody all through here and anywhere that you want to bring it down. That is really funny. If you're struggling with your stippling, there could be a couple things going on. One of the things that trips people up is having too much paint on your stippler. So if you can't see it fuzzy like that on the end, then you probably have too much paint globbed on it, and it won't do what it's doing for me. Another thing is if your paint's too sticky, sometimes it won't come off. So that's why I kind of added a little bit of water here. I sprayed it with my spray brush or spray bottle instead of dipping my brush into the water, because these brushes can get soggy if they get too wet, but I just want my paint to be a little bit wet, so not super sticky. And then the basic technique is just tapping, but you can see with these trees sometimes what I'm doing is a tapping and kind of pulling. So let me get a little bit more paint here so you get a better visual. Tapping and pulling, and I'm not really pressing down and pulling like that. I'm kind of just, it's just a very light flick. As it hits, I'm flicking. And the more you do this, the more comfortable you'll get with it. If you get it solid like this, that's fine. You can always go back in and add a lighter color. But you kind of, the whole idea is you don't want to block out all the light. You kind of want to let the layers shine through. And so you stipple multiple layers. So I might come back in and do another layer of the dark and leave, a little bit of the fuzziness of the other previous layers. And then we'd be adding other layers to it to lighten it up even more. You can also do kind of grassy type things with this by setting it down and flicking. And that's what we'll be doing later too. Okay, so those will be our stippling techniques. So like down here, I think I'm gonna, when I set it down, I'm gonna kind of pull it up a little bit to get a little grassy kind of feeling on there. Okay, very nice. Yeah, I like that. I think that looks good already. So we already have a really nice moody feel to our painting. Nice dark forest. And now I want to go in and add a little bit of light. So I'll add some light to these trees that are right in here. I'm not going to clean this brush. I'm just going to pick up a little bit of that lighter color that I already have. And just going to kind of tap in maybe around that light source to wherever the light would be shining out onto this. So it's not going to go too far, but it might be shining up there a little bit. And maybe out here, some of these. So find your bush or whatever, and then you hit the top of it with this color and leave the darker part underneath. That's the whole idea behind the stippling. It makes it really easy to create. This is a staple of Bob Ross technique, He used stippling a lot in his trees and things. Not that I'm trying to replicate him, I'm just saying if you think that this looks familiar, it's a really common practice from way back. All right. Okay, I think that's good. Let's stop there. I'm going to go ahead and clean that out a little bit and just leave it sort of wet and hope for the best. You can see that I haven't been successful getting it clean in the past because I let it set too long, but you don't want to leave it soaking in your water either. So
do I need to go clean it right
it doesn't
now?
Really hurt anything to have a little paint in it. What?
Do you want me to clean it right now?
No, it's fine. It's not going to hurt it. It's a brush that I expect to be abused a little bit. Okay, so let's start to add in some other colors now. So we've got a really nice moody scene, and now we can really play with the light, add even more bright lights and our little fireflies and things, and really light up this path even more here. So let me think what colors I want to use. I think I want to use like a really bright yellowy green gold, and like light bright almost white yellow, and some more of that turquoise color, and then we'll use some magenta and things down in here too. I did really like that burnt sienna color, so I think I'm going to try to get that back with a little bit of burnt sienna and white.
Hey, real quick. Mm-hmm. That big brush you were using, does it have a specific name?
Yeah, it's a Deerfoot.
No, the other one, the big one.
Oh, yeah, it's worn out. I don't know. It was the Princeton. I don't think it had a brand. It was like a. Let me see if I have another one. I don't think. Yeah, I have a bigger one. Let's see. It's the Princeton gesso brush.
Okay.
Gesso. So it's probably the 100, the 5450F, probably 100 because this is a 2-inch, so this is probably the 1-inch 100. So, but it really doesn't matter. I have plenty of, I mean, it doesn't have to be this particular brand, although we are a brand ambassador, and yay, Princeton is the best brush company, I think, in the world. So, sorry. I'm sure that'll provide debate, but debate amongst yourselves. But I've used them for years, and especially their Stippler is by far the best one, the Deerfoot. I've used these since the 1990s. Not particularly this brand. There was another brand that used to carry them that doesn't anymore. And I was on a search for many, many years after that, trying to find a good replacement. And whatever this is, this brown stuff here that they use, this black furry fiber that they use works the best, I feel like, for the stipplers. So, all right. I'm going to go right up under there and just kind of go side to side with this and sort of create like maybe a little hint of a path. It's a 100, yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, so the dash number one is 1 inch,
yeah,
to
that's
200, 300.
Yeah. Yep.
So you artists, again, somehow equate 2 to 200, but that's okay.
It's just the way they number it. Okay, that looks a little too fussy. So I'm going to change tactics here. And this had a little bit of the yellow, India yellow, mixed in with the burnt sienna. So I'm going to go with India yellow and white now. And let's just kind of plop in some little areas on top of that brown there. Just little gold nuggets here. Think about the movement and where we want to put this. I didn't like that it was like zigzagging, so I'm going to skip around with this color now. And I think I want to hit it right here. And you want these darker colors underneath first so that this really pops off and makes an impact. So I'm going to come down and leave a little gap. Anywhere where you leave a gap will look like there's a break, in the foliage. So okay, maybe this up here is coming in front a little bit, got a little glow. Maybe up here there's something coming across. Okay. Nice. I think I got it too light over here, so I'm going to get a little bit more of my turquoise. Maybe a little bit of magenta. And put that over, which will be kind of a blue. So it's dark, but it's a little bit lighter than what we had there. You see the difference there. And this is a color we haven't used yet, so you can use it in a few places. I'm going to go just up underneath some of these dark areas and just up underneath the lighter tones. I'm going to go just... Nice. Okay. And you can make this as, you know, your own, however you want to do it. So I'm going to get some ultramarine blue and some white now. This will be our shadow blue. So this is where I'll put light that's not directly in the path of this light. So like back in here and in my shadow areas, I can add this color because it's a warmer, more violet blue. I like to use purples for my shadows. And I'll just add a nice contrast to that turquoisey color we've been using. And I'm going to go right across my tree trunk here with this. I don't really want to go too much in my dark area there, so I'm going to... And I'm not going super light with this everywhere. Just want to have a little bit of it, adding a little contrast to what we already had. Okay. Now this kind of is bugging me, so I think I'm going to try to resolve that there. And what I'm going to do, I think, is switch to a smaller round, but this has also got kind of a firm bristle. This is an aspen, so this is a 2 round. I'm going to get my unbleached titanium and a little bit of my cadmium yellow light and a little bit of that turquoise color that we were using. So this will make a nice like green, bright green. Okay, so I think I'm going to use that here to help. I'm just going to kind of dab it. You can see in the picture it's kind of got a little area where it's got little dashes and things. So that's what I'm kind of trying to do here. Kind of pushing up. I think I want to add a couple of mushrooms too, so I might use let me use a little bit of that blue with this color, kind of create a gray. So blue with this turquoise, that was the ultramarine blue and white, with the turquoise and a little bit of the cadmium yellow light. And I think I want to put a couple little baby mushrooms down in here. I'm just letting the canvas texture create the dark areas on these. Going over that dark color. Okay, let's do a couple over here. Maybe just one big one here. Okay, get some of that blue, put a little bit of that on there on the shadow side, away from the light. And then wherever they kind of touch down, just use some of that same color, whatever they're made of, and just tap it around the base, and that'll kind of settle them in to their new home. Okay. Okay. think I'm gonna do a little bit more work on that one and go a little bit darker on the inside of it. Just right here. Leave a little bit of that lighter color. And then bring that stem up into it. Right there. Okay. Cute. I'm gonna get some more of that white. I added the white-ish color right along the edge of that one. Let's do it on this side too. Just a little bit right on the side facing the light. Let me get my fan brush now. We'll add some grasses. So I'm going to get some of that yellow and some of that turquoise color and some white. And I'm not worried about this looking really bright. It's going to look bright and I want it to look bright. So I'm going to just tap it sort of in those areas that I've already kind of established my path. Tap in, set it down and lift up. I kind of got a little too much right there, so I'm just going to tap around it to sort of try to blend that in. Let me get some of that darker color, blend it in around it. If you get, you know, too much of the lighter color, you can always go back over it. So this is all just kind of a back and forth. There's no science, and we're making this up as we go, so there'll be some trial and error. Can't be afraid of making a mistake. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes, you know, what you think is gonna happen doesn't, but sometimes you end up with something better than what you originally wanted. So you kind of just have to embrace it as you go and hope for the best and, you know, play with it until you get it to where you want it to be. That's the name of the game. So I'm getting some of that turquoisey color. This brush is a little bit hard to control, so I'm finding it a little not doing exactly what I'm wanting it to do. So I think I'm going to just use the corner of it. And that way I can kind of dab it and maybe create some like little grassy things up in here coming up. And just kind of let it flop around and create some interesting shapes. Yeah, I like these better. Okay, so the corner of it. And let's just go ahead and integrate where the mushrooms are coming out so that they all kind of go together. All right, really fun little glowy area here. And I think it's almost time to start adding splatters. My favorite. You knew it was coming, right?
Just in time. I think your favorite fan has joined us.
Hi, Noah. How are you? We're painting dragonflies later. I haven't painted them yet, but we're going to get there. I'm going to get some white here. And I'm just going to kind of scumble a little bit. Scumbling is going over a dark area with a lighter color that is opaque so that it creates that kind of foggy, cloudy effect. And I'm going to kind of just use it all in through here, just a little bit. Right. So I'm going to start by splattering my turquoise. going to use up the last bit of that I have right here. Add water. And you can use any kind of stiff bristled brush for this. I like the fan brush because it's got a nice flat surface, so I can kind of control where it's going. And it lays out the splatters in a kind of a, you know, like this, instead of just down in a straight line. You can use a toothbrush too, but you're going to want to tap in the direction that you want the paint to go. So don't hold it up like this and tap like this, expecting it to go down onto your canvas. You're going to hold it flat and just tap straight down. And we'll get all these nice, lovely, bright fireflies coming out. Get all in through here. Concentrate really a lot right there. And then they can come out. Fun. You're gonna have to do some splattering, Noah. You want to do some splattering with Gigi when we see you next? You can do a canvas this way. I did one with my grandson when he was little. We did big 6x20, and we just squirted paint onto the canvas and let him smush it around, and then we let him splatter all over it, and we ended up with a big splattery mess. But we made sure, when you're working with kids, the key is to make sure that you only put down colors that mix well together. So we did like pink, yellow, pink, orange, yellow, red, or whatever, you know, analogous colors that I knew were gonna mix well, and then did like a green, blue, yellow section where, you know, everything, and don't let them mix too much. So just like let them swirl the colors around and then take the brush away. And that is the key to successful toddler painting. He of course painted his nose and, you know, body parts, but at least we got paint on the canvas where we wanted it for a little while. And then I took those canvases and painted dinosaur shapes over the top in silhouette. So the painted part were the dinosaurs, and then the rest of it was, you know, painted in solid, and it turned out really cool. So fun little project idea for you guys if you're working with your kids at home looking for a project to do with them. I've also got a few that use Q-tips and things that are great for kids as well. Older tutorials, cotton swab one, if you search for those on my website, those will come up. All right, I'm going to do some white now. Ooh, that's good. I like that they're going bigger. Okay, so what we're going to have to do is let these dry. So I'm going to have to hand this off to Mark probably. I'm going to try to blot it. We'll see if I can blot it without a splatter. These splatters are really big, so they're going to be hard to blot. I'm going to get this off of this corner of this one though. So I'm going to just use my paper towel with a little bit of water and my finger underneath it, and just kind of target a few of them to blot off because I don't want them all to be this bright. If you use your finger and kind of selectively target them, it's a little bit easier to control. There we go. And I'm okay with it kind of bleeding out a little bit too, and that's okay. All right, so I'm getting kind of like some ghosting here. Don't want too much of that though. So I think what I'm going to do is find a clean spot, turn it inside out, and I'm just going to lay it down right here. Very carefully without moving it side to side, and just press down and lift. Okay, there we go. That one's moved a little bit. Okay. So a little bit more subtle. The longer you let it set, the darker they'll be, that kind of thing. So we're going to add lots of effects to this, but I'm going to let Mark take this and just dry it really well for me, and then we'll come back to it.
Okay.
Thank you, hon. I'm going to clean up my palette while he's doing that. Mark and I are going to have a quiet 4th of July. It's 4th of July is this Friday. All of our kiddos are doing other things. So, just me, him, and I. I don't think we're going to do a bunch of fireworks. Usually we'll do a bunch of fireworks if the kids are here, but they're all grown and have left us. It's so sad. When I first started doing my YouTube channel back in, I guess it was 2012, 2014 is kind of when I started doing live streams. My youngest, Spencer, was only, I think, 10, 12 years old, something like that. Yeah, 12. He would have been 12 in 2013, so 13. So he was still in junior high, moving up into high school. And now he's graduated college and gone. You guys have been with us through so many life changes. It's crazy. If you listen to our older videos, even some of them have the boys in them when we hit our 100,000 mark way back when. And the older two were still in and out living with us, you know, through college and different things. And now they're all have kids of their own and we're grandparents. It's amazing. It's crazy how fast everybody says your kids grow up fast, but it's like, I don't know. Somehow, like, these videos have like a timestamp on them, you know, because they're done, you know, recorded, and going back in and looking at them or seeing them and remembering how different our lives are now, you know. It's crazy. Just talking about how Spencer was still in junior high when we started doing this, and now he's left us and we got grandkids, and it's amazing.
Time flies.
Yep. We're getting old. Nah, I don't feel old. Hopefully get to be doing this with you guys for many, many more years.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to grab a brush I didn't mention yet. This one is a blender. So it's kind of a cousin of the Deerfoot. It's a little bit stiffer bristled, but I think, well, I don't know. I'll probably use a little bit of both, the Deerfoot and this one, to do some of these Fireflies. And we'll just kind of decide where we want to do our dragonflies first, though, I think. And that way we won't paint over any areas where we want our dragonflies to be. We don't want a bunch of fireflies in the same area. So I think I'm going to do one of the dragonflies in this area here. Because it's just generally, the body's going to be longer than the maybe I'll change the wings so that they're kind of going up a little bit. Yeah, it looks like it's kind of going forward. Okay, so we'll do one down there. And then we'll do one across here. Sorry, it's getting all nostalgic. I don't know why. Oh, I guess 4th of July always makes me think of my boys because we had so many interesting 4th of July stories.
Interesting is a good choice. We'll leave it at that.
Screaming at catching the neighbor's yard on fire. I think that happened more than once, actually. Almost catching our house on fire and their cars. Yeah, we're not. And it's not, no alcohol was involved. That's the scary thing.
Just teenage
Not the word
boys.
teetotalers or anything, but just, yeah, teenage antics. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We had boys. That's enough said, right? And they had friends, and they weren't always responsible. But we tried to make them responsible, but they had they were wily. And some of them were just mishaps, the thing falling over. And
the bear says allegedly.
Is he still listening? Okay, I got to be careful what I'm saying now.
There are no names.
Allegedly, that's awesome. That's our son, Nathan. That's great. Yeah, allegedly one of his friends had his bomb confiscated. I shouldn't say that word because then I'll get blacklisted on YouTube. His what was it? That was the bottle rockets.
Bottle rocket, yeah.
He like
What?
duct taped this huge thing of bottle rockets about that big around. I was like, yeah, it wasn't a bomb. It was just bottle rockets. But it looked like one. I was like, you are not doing that anywhere near my house, so go away with that. Oh, geez. Okay, so there we go. I kind of moved that one over so that they were in a little bit more triangular. These two were like kind of next to each other. So, and I might do another little mushroom or two over here too. I don't know. We'll see. Could probably do 3. Let's see if we want to do a couple more or not. I don't know. I don't think it needs it. I don't want that to be the focal take away from what's going on up here. I just kind of wanted a touch of whimsy there with them. All right, so let's do our fireflies now. So now we kind of know where to avoid, and we'll do our firefly kind of lights in the background. Yeah, I think I do need to use in fact, I think I'm going to use a smaller brush even still. I think I'm going to use the 1/4 inch of the blenders here. And I'm going to get some turquoise back, all out of that. I like how it's turning out so far though. Definitely want to add some pink, so maybe we'll add some of that later. Might even splatter some. And so this is where we can kind of clean up some of any of these splatters that went awry. And I'm going to use the white and my yellow and just make a really bright light yellow color for my fireflies. We don't need that many of these. I just want to have a few. So like this one here kind of looks a little sus. So maybe we'll make that a little firefly. Maybe this one where I kind of moved it. Make some of them smaller and some of them larger. And you can use them to lead the eye around too. So we might kind of have them going off up this way. And I can target the areas that I've already done the white dots because those will be a little bit brighter. They'll already have a base. So some of these I'm going to do a little bit bigger, and you can see I'm not putting down a lot of paint yet. I'll come back in and add brighter colors. Right now I'm just trying to establish where they're at and mark a few places. Something like that. Okay, going back in with a little bit brighter color now. Second go around, get a little bit more intense color and just kind of dabbing it in sort of in the center there. And you know, fireflies, they're elongated, so these don't have to be circles. It can be kind of oval. It's fine. These are all kind of the same size, so I think maybe make this one bigger. Here. Make this one really big. Just kind of using the corner of the brush to get that thicker area in there. And I'm going to really dab on brighter light. You can use a smaller brush for this if you want to get a little bit more of a circle, but I'm not too worried about that. Kind of got a little big. All right. And I don't think I'm going to do much more than that. Maybe do one. Okay, I want to look and see the patterns that I'm getting. So I've got kind of 3 here, and then I've got it widening out here, a couple trailing off this way, 2 kind of clustered here. So if I want to lead the eye back up this way, I might need, I did one there, but I didn't like it, so but I might need another one somewhere up in here, maybe up here. Okay. And I don't have any over here, but I don't know that I want too much, so maybe just do a small one there. Okay, we'll leave that. Okay, cute. I'm going to go back to this stippler. I'm going to get some of the magenta and mix it in. I'm going to maybe get a little tiny bit of that yellow. And I'm just going to use this in a couple places to add a little punch of pink. This will also kind of help fix any problems that we had if there's any areas where you want to cover anything. Okay. Then I'm going to get some of the turquoise, some of that white. I'm just going to kind of come up underneath here. I can't do too much at this point because it's already kind of, you know, we've got splatters and things, but do some kind of things trailing down here as if there's some logs or moss or something, you know, that's coming down. Okay, we can always go back into if we want to add our tree trunks back in. I don't think it's kind of too late now at this point, but Probably should have done that before we splattered, but that is something else you can do if you covered so much of your tree trunk that you want a little bit more definition in them. You can do that. You can also go in with more of this darkish color and, you know, add back in some really dark if you need it anywhere. Sometimes you get going and you add so much light areas that you lose the contrast. So maybe tapping in just a little bit of dark here and there. Okay. Very magically. This is not supposed to look realistic. I mean, I'm wanting it to be fairly realistic, but you know what I mean. This is definitely not something you would necessarily see in nature, so I'm not worried about that. I'm going to get some white, and if you want to, you can come back in and dab a little bit of white in your little firefly booties. You can maybe even pull down if you want them to look, you know, like they're moving. You can give them wings if you want, whatever. It's fun. Okay, so let's do our dragonflies and we'll be done. So I want to go with the same theme colors that we've been using. So I think this one will go kind of golden. I think I might have gone a little too pink with this one in the filter, but we can edit that here as we paint it. So I'm going to start with the India yellow and a little bit of burnt sienna and some white. Okay. I'm going to just dab off this chalk so it's not so bright. So thick, I guess. Okay, there we go. All right, so the head is kind of a couple eyes, and then you've got a body, and then tail segment. And then coming out of this gap right here, there's going to be one. I'm just going to set, brush down and pull in. And then do another one. They're kind of flat on the top, rounded at the base. So flat on the top edge. And kind of rounded. They get a little thicker as they go in toward the body right there. And I'm not worried about them being kind of translucent. So I think I'll start there and I'll come back in and add some highlights, but that'll be kind of my starting point. And I'm going to get some burnt sienna and just kind of darken up where give it a little bit of dark where the joints are. Okay. Yeah, that's fun. I mean, I guess I could make them all this color, but I kind of like having them different colors. You do, too? Okay.
I do. It'll help
Good.
pull the purple out of the background.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so again, the magenta.
See, I know what I'm talking about.
And added a little tiny touch of burnt sienna to it. This will mirror the colors that are in the bottom here too. couple of dots for the eyes, and then kind of a little rectangle for the body. And then I'm leaving a little space and letting the background kind of influence the color too. So anywhere you leave gaps or transparency, it will darken that area up, and then you won't have to go back in and do anything to it later. Right, then right here where that gap is between that triangle, or the, you know, there's the eyes, and then the little body, that, well, just below that is where the wings are coming out. So I'm coming up. Yeah, I like this color. Subtle. Nice. Keep it dark enough that it's kind of feels, you know, moody. So I don't want it so bright that it's like distracting. I want it to look like it's part of the scene. We'll brighten them up a little bit with a little bit of outlining, a little bit of highlighting. Yeah, that's fun. Okay, we'll just do this guy with a little bit of blue. And kind of a yellowish color on the wings. So his body is kind of a light blue. Kind of the same color we used for the mushrooms almost. That ultramarine blue and white. And then get some burnt umber, or burnt sienna, I mean, and mix that in and use that for the eyes and the body. And I'll go ahead and kind of start the wings with this too. Some unbleached titanium, a little bit of my yellow, this maybe needs to be a little lighter so I can see it. I think that wings need a little bit bigger too. There we go. Get a little bit of that darker burnt umber color. I'm going to add that to the wings here. There's a little bit of darker color right where they attach to the body in this one, and along the back of the body. The eyes. And there's a little bit of stripey down toward the rear. There. Okay. Fun. Let's put some highlights on him now. Get more white. I'm going to get a little of the cadmium yellow light with my white. And I'm just going to hit up the tips of the wings. And maybe the tops of the eyes, anywhere where I think the light might be hitting it. Very subtle little. That's That's all. Just tiny little brush strokes to kind of give it a little bit of a highlight, okay? Let's do the same thing on our, I think I'm just going to use this same color on my pink one. Wingtips and just kind of some little brush strokes pulling in. Less is more. I always come back and add more, but it's harder to take away once it's there. So think about where you're putting these. Okay. And I think that needs some contrast. See how he looks kind of flat? So let's get some of that magenta and burnt sienna together. And go in here and add some darker color. Kind of under the head and, like I said, in the kind of creases where the wings are coming out and such. Okay, now he looks like he's formed. We already did that with the burnt sienna on that one, but we hadn't done it on this one. Okay. So this one's not going to take too much because it's already kind of highlighty the way we painted it in. I'm going to wipe off the chalk so I see what I have. And I'm going to wipe off the chalk on this guy. I think that's dry enough too. Okay. Nice. Yeah, it's fun. I probably could have posed them a little bit different now that I think about it. Kind of did him with his wings forward, but these two are kind of similar. So if you want to, you can kind of look at pictures of dragonflies and maybe pose them a little bit more differently so that they look a little bit more unique to each other. Just using white little dots here to highlight my wings. Using the brighter white now for the just bare tips of the wings to really give them a little bit more oomph. One other thing we could have done is put a moon in here too. You could also, put a little moon through the trees. I wish I'd thought of that.
I kind of like it with kind of that glow at the end of the path.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of leads you down it.
Right.
Without any other distractions.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe do just kind of a very slight hint of a tank at the end of the...
just like a barrel like coming across. So yeah, it's just like a little silhouette of a tank.
Kind of a dreamy... like drawing you in. You want to go there.
Good try. Good try. Uh-huh. All right, I think we're about done. I don't know. The only thing I might continue to do is add more mushrooms, but I think we're good. I mean, it kind of creates this sort of dome right here. So if anything, I'd probably add another mushroom here in the middle just to kind of break up that shape. Add another, something, but I like it. I like the little mushrooms myself.
No blue fireflies.
And add little dots to my mushroom there. No blue fireflies? This one's blue. This one's got some blue in it.
Where?
Around his butt, right here, his leg.
Oh, that's a dragonfly. I'm talking about fireflies.
Oh, blue fireflies.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess it could. There are some little blue ones.
In your reference, there's
in the reference.
Some blue ones. Since it's a fantasy.
Okay.
You might as well.
All right. Let's do it. I've already got that color though here,
Okay. Well, you
kind of
don't
throughout. I'm
have
not
to.
sure how well it'll show up at this point.
Or glow in the dark color somebody suggested.
Glow in the dark color.
I don't know if you have any of those.
I do. Yeah, I have phosphorescent, or right here. Phosphorescent green. You can splatter with that if you wanted to, or use it at the tips of the wings and stuff. I used this a few years ago on a painting, I want to say 8 years ago maybe, and it's already not working anymore. So just note to, anybody using it, it's not gonna last. Doesn't stay potent very long. Now let me switch to a little bit smaller brush here. Well, I guess it was a smaller brush. I guess that was my small brush. Yeah, see, because I changed the color in the reference photo from that yellow to the green background, and so now if I do those green ones, they're not going to show up against the green background. The only reason they look so green is because the background's yellow. So that's why I did the yellow ones here instead. But I could put some green ones off where it's not green, is what I'm saying, like over here or something. But they're not going to look as green as they do in the reference photo because I changed the background color.
Well, I'm good with that as it is, so.
Can add a little bit of yellow maybe to give it a different color because we have some of this green down in here. This way you could also do grasses, you could do whatever you want, There's so many different ways you can go with this. That's the fun of it. You can kind of personalize it however you want. Yeah, I mean, I can make some of these that are up in here more green.
I'm looking forward to seeing people's
Definitely.
interpretation.
Yes.
And share it on the Facebook group there.
Yeah, you can share it on Facebook, you can share it on Instagram. I have links down in the description there. All my social media down there, so you can just tag me in your post. Usually it shows up on my notifications. But I have a Facebook group where you can share from any of the tutorials that I painted, and I'll for sure see it in there if you do want me to for sure see it. Social media is a little bit more hit or miss because there's so many outlets and people posting different things, so I sometimes miss things there. All right, this is fun. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'm going to add a little bit more of that burnt sienna color, that original background color, because I did really like it. Just in a few places in here. Can just help ground things. We've got it in these too, so. And I kind of got a little light in this whole area, so I could go back in and darken up if I need to. Might go a little bit burnt umber. It's your own interpretation, though, you know, so it's kind of whatever you like. If you want more pinks, add more pinks. If you want more yellows, you could do the whole thing in yellows. You know, there's so many ways to go with this. Adding more. I guess it's close to 2 hours. Are we? No, we're only an hour and a half. Fitzy, calm your jets. Our dog, he always starts grumbling around the 2 hour mark. Our tutorials. Okay, so I don't want to go too crazy with this, with a bunch of added little details at the end. But I do think it'd be kind of nice to have a few little, like, like spores, I guess. You know, those little mini grassy things. Just for a little added detail. I'm just using kind of a neutral color, so just like right here, and then maybe like out here in the path. There's a few. See that? These kind of things come alive when you add just little teeny tiny details at the very end. It's amazing. Because all of this is chatter for your eyes, but then you kind of get these things to guide you through, and suddenly it looks like the whole thing's detailed when you've only really added detail to a couple little areas. You don't need to do too much to it to get it to really pop. Adding a little bit of white. Added some there. Let's add a couple little dots. Up in here, just guiding the eye through. And I think we're pretty close. Let's maybe put a couple more right in here. I love it. Okay, I think that's it. I'm not gonna overdo here like I like to. I'm gonna try to pull back and leave it be. And if you want to at the end, you could do some more splatters if you feel like you need it. But I think I'm pretty happy with what we've got going on. Let me give you a close up of it. Very magical. You see in the eyes, I didn't do too much. I didn't like try to make them look googly-eyed. There's a real temptation to do that. So when you're doing your little highlights, just make sure they're kind of symmetrical, but a little different. Like maybe one's a little bit bigger than the other or something, or a little offset. And that way they won't look like you've got two big googly eyes, in there. Because these ones in particular are very easy to make googly eyes. So these ones, like you can see, I just kind of put them off to the side. I didn't even put them in the center. I just put the highlights kind of on either side and then a little bit in the middle. All right? Keep an eye on that. All right, that's it. Fun. I love this one. I hope you guys like it. This feels very summer to me. We've got fireflies in our yard. We were catching with our grandkids the last time they were over. It was really fun. It's a really fun time of year in the south, especially here in Arkansas, where we live. I'm gonna get this is just a Posca acrylic marker, and I'm gonna use it to sign with. Makes it real easy to sign.
And for the Patreon people who get the additional video, are you doing it this week?
I am not. No.
Okay.
Yes, we're not gonna, because it was 4th of July. We changed it to Fridays, and then the first Friday was a holiday. No, I didn't do that on purpose, I promise. But we did meet last week, so we did do the drawing, or not the drawing, but the reference photos. So I showed how to take multiple photos and crop them and put them all together, cut them out, cut out elements, and make a new composition. So we're going to be starting on that. I'll show you what we finished last week, or not last week, but the week before. This was the $15 tier that I do. So we worked on this for 5 weeks, and that's kind of 4 to 5 weeks as a general rule, on once a week until we finish projects. So like the first week is usually the design and drawing, and then the second week will be blocking in, and then the third and fourth, fifth weeks will be the finishing of the details and things. So walk you through the whole process, and we have a really fun group there. And we do these projects, they take a lot longer, and so that's why we break it down the way we do, and make changes as we go, and kind of, decide what's working, what's not. And anyhow, it's a lot of fun. So if you want to check out that, you can go to my website, thankfulart.com. That has shows the thank you.
I got the look.
Yeah. My website shows, if you go to the tutorial section, you can go to the premium section. You can see all of the bonus and challenge videos that we've done over the years. The bonus tier is the $5 tier, and it includes traceables. So I'll be making a traceable of this, and that includes unlimited downloads and viewing of all of the bonus videos that we've done in the past. And then the challenge tier is the newer live stream for patrons, and a Facebook group that you can join and get critiques and things and help with your work. So yeah, that's it. Check it out on my website there if you're interested, and we will be back next week. Oh, got something to do there. Super chat! Yay! Very sweet.
Yes, okay. That graphic popped up, wasn't supposed to be there, but this one is from our friend Patty.
Thank you, Patty. Aw, very sweet.
Said hadn't mooed in a while. So
What?
Said we hadn't mooed in a while. So we mooed.
Thank you. Very sweet, Patty. Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Patty's a longtime patron, too, so that was really sweet of her.
Got some great supporters.
We do. You guys are
people.
amazing. Well, I'm glad you like this one, Patty. This one's for you. Well, and all right. Thank you guys so much. I guess that's it. Have a great happy 4th. And happy Canada Day to those in the north tomorrow, I think it is.
Yes, today.
Or today, yeah.
July 1st, yeah.
Yeah, so happy Canada Day to our neighbors from the north. And take care. Be safe out there with your fireworks. And we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.